I don't normally post things like this, but I think you need to know. I didn't realize it at first, but there was always something off about the house. And not in an obvious way, but in a quiet, nagging sort of manner. A door that didn't quite belong. It wasn't anything at all like the others, nothing more than a faint outline at the edge of the wall. As if it had been there all along, waiting for me to notice. I tried to ignore it, as you do with things that don't make sense. But there it was. The third door. I first noticed it one evening when I was walking down the hallway. I had just finished dinner, and the house was still. The silence was thick, but comforting. Until I saw it. A door that hadn't been there before. It was old, the wood worn and darkened, with brass handles that looked like they hadn't been touched in years. It stood slightly ajar, a sliver of shadow spilling from within. I froze. I hadn't heard the door open. I hadn't even heard the click of it turning. But there it was. And something about it felt wrong. Like it shouldn't have been there. At first, I assumed I was just tired. Maybe I hadn't noticed it when I moved in. Maybe I just overlooked it, distracted by other things. But over the next few days, the door kept appearing. Sometimes, it was in places where I knew it hadn't been before. Right in the middle of the hallway, or blocking a path in my living room. It was as if it had always been there, but it hadn't. I tried opening it once. The handle was cold, unnaturally cold, and as my hand gripped it, I felt a slight resistance, a pulse, like it was alive. But when I turned it, the door wouldn't budge. I pushed harder, but the hinges creaked, and the door stayed shut. The feeling of wrongness deepened. After a few more attempts to open the door, I started to hear things. Soft whispers at first, just faint voices that seemed to drift from the cracks of the door. They were low, unintelligible, like a conversation I wasn't meant to overhear. Sometimes, I thought I could catch a glimpse of movement through the narrow gaps. Shadows shifting, long arms reaching out. But when I looked closer, it was always empty. I thought about calling someone, but what could I say? Hey, there's a door that wasn't there before, and it's giving me bad vibes. No one would believe me. But the door kept calling to me. I found myself standing in front of it more often than I liked. My fingers would hover over the handle, my mind racing with questions. What was behind it? Why did it feel like something was waiting on the other side? Was it dangerous? Or was it just a trick my brain was playing on me? The more I stared at it, the more the door seemed to shift, like it was alive, adapting to my thoughts. The wood darkened, the air around it growing colder. The whispers grew louder, almost urgent, pressing against my mind, inviting me. One night, I decided that I couldn't resist it anymore. I had to know what was behind it. I grabbed the handle again, the cold metal burning my skin. My heart raced as I turned it, this time feeling the resistance, stronger than ever, like the door didn't want to open. But I kept pushing, my hand trembling. Finally, it gave way. The door opened with a creak that echoed down the empty hallway. There was nothing. Just an empty room beyond the door. Dark, quiet, and unsettling in its stillness. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was there. I stepped forward, the floor creaking underfoot. Then, just as suddenly as it had opened, the door slammed shut behind me. I spun around, heart pounding in my chest. The door was gone. No trace of it. No handle. Just a blank wall where it used to be. I left that house a week later, not daring to return. The door didn't follow me, but the whispers never left. I'll leave you with this. If you ever find a third door, you'll know. You'll feel it. And whatever you do, don't try to open it.